My name is Agaoglu. I'm the director of Gunhand.
My name is David van der Meijde. I'm a filmmaker from the Netherlands. I own a production company called Welldone Pictures. We are now in our little production office. And well, since I think it's now 2 years, we started working on Gunhand. Gunhand is actually a story where most Westerns end. Gunhand begins.
Yeah.
When the hero rides off into the sunset, our story begins.
Yeah. Yes, there's elements of that you find in other Westerns, but we focus a little bit more on, the character's a little bit more mature, and it's not so black and white, with good guys, bad guys. It's a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, we're going to shoot in Almeria. That's in a famous part of Spain where lots of classics are made. We're going to shoot a part in Germany and in the Netherlands.
As we speak, a Dutch director, Martin Koolhoven, is working on a Western.
Brimstone.
So I don't know if we can lay claim to the fact that we're going to have the first mashpot Western. I also don't know if you can call his film a mashpot Western, a stamppot Western. I don't know, because he's shot it maybe in other countries, and maybe it's not so European. I think that's one of the things that is going to set hopefully our film apart.
The biggest part of the cast is going to be English American actors, well, native English people, and I think like 20% is going to be Dutch.
One of the characters in the film is an immigrant, who's just recently come over to the States, and depending on who plays that, I mean, she could be French, she could be Dutch, she could be Swedish, Scandinavian, whatever. So that's a way of dealing with that. But we'd like to have most of the character. We'd like the movie to feel authentic. Yeah.
And I think our Western, the Dutch Western, is more of a serious type. It's more gritty, a bit more violent, a bit more serious. So I think that's going to set us apart.
Maybe more rooted in a little more realism than
and not like the. Well, of course, there's going to be action, but not like the over-the-top, too much swinging with the guns.
Whatever you want to tell, I think you can tell it in a Western setting, and I think you have an exciting, particularly a visually exciting way of telling any story you want. So I hope that we don't have to have, you don't have to have vampire Westerns and zombie Westerns to be able to tell a good story. For instance, immigrants. It's really a huge topic right now. I mean, Western would be a great way to tackle that and to say, okay, well, let's look at that. How does that work? What happens to people when people from outside come in there? What does that do to a community or expectations?
Westerns, you have a lot of vast landscapes that I really want to capture. If we're going to shoot a close-up, I'm going to shoot it very wide, so you can see the whole scenery, instead of just using a 100 millimeter lens, just shoot him in his eyes. So it's going to be a traditional Western, but in a more modern way. The reason why we are going to do a crowdfunding campaign is mostly because we don't have a track record in feature films. But if the crowdfunding is successful, we're gonna try some more traditional ways of funding, which we are working on right now.
In the end, probably what will happen is hopefully that it'll be a combination of both.
Have you already thought of rewards for people who support your project, like perks?
People can get wanted posters, so that they're in the film and they're obviously in the shot, because somebody's talking about somebody, and then beside the wanted poster of one of the main characters, you can see them and their name and stuff. We also thought about, in a saloon, maybe some of the bottles that are there, that somebody has a
whiskey brand of their own.
The challenge is, I think we've got some good inventive ideas on how to personalize things for people, and that they'll also get a copy of that, so they'll have a bottle and they'll have a poster and they'll have they'll get props and things like that. So,
and there also will be some exclusive screenings, so that some people are going to see some cut scenes from the actual film, and they also can give us some feedback.
Yeah, they'll be part of a test audience.
When do you think your movie will be ready?
More questions?
I think probably the end of 2018.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the fall of 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. Depends on. I think that's to be realistic.
It also really depends on the budget.
Yeah,
that's also a big question, because if we're going to get a bigger budget, we can do a little bit more. Yeah. So it's going to take us a little longer or shorter.
Yeah, I think a good Western. I think you need two things. I think you need to use the landscape, and the country that almost as a character. I think when Westerns veer off that and they start, it's more of a Western about a town in the West, then you start to get things that you could also set, in the city or in a neighborhood in a big city. I think there's 6-7 themes that you see recurring in Western, but I don't think you should get away from that too much. I think that's what makes a Western, good.
So you need vast landscape, guns, horses. That was just a little joke.
It's called Gunhand.
With a classic imitation of the Western. Well done. I like it, yes.